What's going on, man?
What's good, bro? Talk to me. How you feeling about these two hires? Man? I know we didn't talk on back channels the last few weeks as far as the possibilities and things like that. Just tell me what you feel about these two hires. Let's speak about Gus specifically and kind of move on to Tony.
Well, I'm a big fan of Brennan Marion, so I like that. But the crazy part is when you go back and think about it, where did Brennan Marion get his start from? But you got to
Mm-hmm.
start from Mike. But who did Mike get his start from? From Gus. And when you look at what the offenses are, they're basically all the same offenses. Obviously, Gus's offenses when he was at Auburn and at UCF have been more run dominant. But if you go back and look at when they won the Natty with Cam Newton, it was run dominant, but he still had very, very big aspects of the throwing game involved with it.
You're speaking of
Same
Cam Newton,
deal.
bro. Sorry to interrupt you. A lot of people don't know that Gus was the actual OC and he coached Cam. He's one that actually brought and recruited Cam to Auburn from the junior college ranks.
Right. And then when you think about what happened with not with Tony, but with Kenny Dillingham being his OC, Kenny didn't really call plays for him when he was at Auburn. Gus called the plays. It was Gus's offense. Kenny had some involvement with it. So I think when you look at it and what Mike had the situation that Mike's in, he got to win now. So Brendan would be more of a gamble. Not saying he wouldn't have been a good hire. I really do like that hire, but this is more of a
Yeah,
something
it's
that
the waiting game,
you
man. That's one thing I hate as far as this new signing period and what that was stupid as hell in my opinion. To change it to push up a couple weeks to put more pressure as far as the end of the season to make some hires or things like that. Usually have like a 2 week window to try to make some all season hires, get some guys in for official visits and let them see it. But shit, signing day is within a couple damn days,
yeah
and
signing day.
right, it's Wednesday. It got pushed up within 2 weeks, which is crazy to me. If you're going to push it up, leave it late in December and have an August signing day for guys who want to get it over with. But don't push that December signing day up a couple weeks and let coaches try to rush and make a decision as far as figuring out coaching staff to try to salvage a class and things like that. Because I feel like that's what Mike kind of did, is not really want to play a waiting game with Marion and go ahead and get rolling with both of these hires.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. Marion's gonna have to. You have to wait for Marion a little bit, and Marion's also in the hunt for UF, Wisconsin, now USC. It's gonna be a high. He's gonna be head coaching for his alma mater at Tulsa. A lot of options for that young man, and good for kudos to him. But I think Mike went with the sure bet, or more what feels like a more sure bet, and that's about it. So I like to hire Gus. It's just what I'm telling people is none of these hires are like splash hires. They're not like the sexiest hires that you could have gotten. They're just hires, but they're solid in of that. So I think they got to get it, and they've got people. You've got proof in the production. So like you've got the way it goes now. You got to go raid, right? So you go raid UCF, you go raid Nebraska. You actually have guys that can kind of flip around your fortunes and get you to a 8-9 win season next year with just who they bring in.
All right, let's speak about what you think about Tony White being named the defensive coordinator. That was recently announced. Some breaking news as far as him being announced. What's your thoughts on that hire?
I think again another solid hire. A lot of people look at some of the things that Nebraska has and some of the losses, and without looking at it with context, it's a team game. I mean, I've seen a lot of people bring up Indiana, and not a lot of people bring up Ohio State. Not a lot of
Right.
people bring
He
up
had like 5 turnovers against Indiana as well
five
too.
turnovers, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles. I mean, those are put divas get put in some precarious positions when you think about all of those different things. So I mean, but it's much like Gus. I didn't get a chance to go into this. Like Gus in and of himself is not what impresses me. Grant Herb and Herb Hand are the ones who would impress me if he brought both of those guys over. That's his offensive line coach and the wide receiver coach. If he's able to bring Pot Roast over, who played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, another good coaching name, could potentially get offered to stay at DC, but who his hires would be would help me. Help me out. If anybody listened to me and Crow on Big Games BS last week, I think it was last Monday, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, one of them days last week, he got on and we actually talked about different schematics with defense. We talked about the 3-3-5 in comparison to the 4-2-5. And he's not a 3-3-5. He's a 3-3-5 base, but everybody runs multiple fronts now. It's all dependent upon what you have. But really, if you think about what we have in that off defensive end, when you think about what Marvin Jones really is really a stand-up defensive end. Even if Patrick Payton were to come back, he's really more of a stand-up defensive end. We really run
Mm,
a 3-5.
right.
And that helps with your guys. Like if Jackson's coming back, now you put him in a situation where he's surely just over the nose,
Dominating
or
the center.
shading the center. Excuse me, shading the center or directly over the center, which
Yeah.
is very difficult to defend. When you got guys like Durajai, a tweener D tackle D end, but perfect for a 3-4-3 or odd man front. You kind of put yourself in some situations where you can be more athletic, you can throw more stunts, you can throw more blitzes. That's really where they would have to really hit the portal hard to go find linebackers that understand what it is that they want to do. You can also,
Correct.
when I'm looking at the guys entering the portal from Nebraska, I know there was a lot of talk that that Pot Roast might Terrence Knight and Pot Roast is Terrence Knight, guys.
James Knight,
Might
yeah.
staying, but when I'm looking at who's hitting the portal, it gives you
Good
hope to
defensive
believe
lineman.
that there's a lot of D linemen that are bouncing. And I saw somebody put that they don't know where he's a recruiter. The cool thing about I don't invest too much in 247 on 3 rivals. But the cool thing is when you type those coaches' names in, you can go see the players that they were involved in recruiting. And for him to be such a young coach, it's a lot of 4-stars that he's been involved with getting to Nebraska. So
Yeah, you
cool.
look at Nebraska fans. Nebraska fans are not happy about this shit, and they speak highly of both of those coaches, especially Knight. And so, if you,
Especially what they came into at Nebraska. They came
yeah,
into a situation where guys were called soft. They were not doing very, very well. They came in and they had, again, people like to talk about flipping the culture. So if you believe that's what we were encountering here at Florida State, well, you got a guy who's really, really good at determining the attitude. And something that we were talking about on the sideline of the Florida game, me and some of the old heads, is how the defense used to be the defense as Florida State has been known has been the culturally defining part. Like it's always, even though you've had players like Peter Warwick, you've had all kinds of great
the
players.
defense is
They
always the
always
mantra.
know that Mickey Andrews' defenses were tough.
Physical and finesse. Yep. You're right, 100%. So we can, and I think someone alluded to that in our group chat as well. So if we can get back to that, then you're right. I absolutely agree with that. So we'll see how it plays out. And of course, early signing day is within the next few days. You were into more this past week as far as for the Florida game. I don't want any specifics as far as any names and things like that, but just talk about some of the vibes you were hearing as far as recruiting for some of those guys and what the message was from FSU moving forward for some of the guys that they were recruiting on the trail.
I mean, the biggest message is we won't be here for long. We're not gonna. This won't be what it's like. This is not the expectation. What's funny is a lot of people adopt it, but forget. I get it from Mike. This is not the standard. This is
Mm-hmm.
not up to par. And I think you know, as a guy who has a lot of friends who are in coaching and knows a lot of people, even they sit back. They don't. People who get paid don't have time to troll. And like they are going around saying, James, I don't understand it. This isn't a 2-10 team, or at the time, this isn't a 1-9 team or a 1-8 team. I don't know what the deal or what's going on. And they, but everybody understands that it's going to take some some correction. It's going to take some pain, but at the end of the day, it's not as big of a fall or descent as or a climb back to it as what people would think. You get some play. You missed point blank. Period. You missed. You missed on guys in the portal. You missed on guys. You missed on when you paid the wrong people, the right people, and their attitudes. But a lot of that can be corrected by getting guys who aren't fueled by just this. They're fueled by wanting to win. And I think a lot of that could be correct. Well, a lot of that will be corrected. Will be the theme in the offseason and recruiting moving forward is getting guys and vetting guys who want to be that. But what's funny is I was listening. One of my passions, especially when things aren't going right, is to listen to everybody else's spaces. And I was on the Miami space, and it was actually a shout out to AJ. Luke was on it, Uncle Luke, a couple guys, and I was listening to him, and Luke was the traditionalist. You can't get we can't get 15 more transfers, but they were going through their roster,
That sounds familiar, don't it?
and they were talking about how trash their roster is. Mind you, they've won in recruiting every year the last few years. And the reality, it's just, but people have to understand what the current reality is. You do want to have your high school guys, but looking at who's in the transfer portal now, it's a lot of names that a lot of FSU fans fell in love with 2, 3 years ago. And you're seeing the opportunity to maybe re-engage, but it just proves a point that high school recruiting, if you don't get, it's always get your girl back season. But
Yeah.
if your girl is always back in the streets after she got a relationship, that's not your girl anymore. She belongs to the streets. So if you're gonna be in the streets, be in the streets. Just learn how to make sure you play the game the way it go. And I think that's what people have to realize is we got to play the game the way it go. You need 30 new people every year. I don't give a fuck how you get to 30 new people. You're going to need 30 new people every year
Every year.
between portal, NFL, and high school. Like that's just what you're gonna have to get. So you know, flip the roster, find guys that want to be here, that want to be here. And as I'm joking now, I don't care how much money I make. I ain't gonna never not eat peanut butter and jelly. So you find
Beyonce,
peanut
baby.
butter and jelly guys. Like they got a little bit of bread. They might have the Maybach. They may have the Porsche. But them bitches gonna eat some peanut butter and jelly and some ramen when they get down to it. Now, we got too many people eating lunch at steakhouses.
Right, facts. You got to keep that real going. All right, James. Let the people know where they can follow you at, where they can find you at as well too.
Den Media Group, at Big Game James _36 on all your social medias, Blue Sky, Twitter, IG, Facebook, TikTok, all that shit. I'm on that. Sports Den _live. Obviously, we've been real Florida State heavy lately. Some Big Games BS is not an FSU show. I'll get on every now and then, do some FSU centric shit, but for the most part, it's just talking about sports. But we get some news, we get some intel, we get some insight. If you want to know what happened in some recruitments, I happen to know what happened, good, bad, and indifferent. So we talk about those things. We talk about a lot of other fun stuff. And once we get to, I think we're still trying to push the 7,000 subs. I don't know where we're at, but we get 7,000 subs. We'll give away $500 to a lucky listener, then $200 to a member. We do all kinds of giveaways and things of that nature. No more tickets to give away. Oh, unless you want to go to the Gator Bowl, we will have Gator Bowl tickets that we give away. It's going to probably be what brings me joy is to know that no matter how successful our rivals are, the most successful place that they're going to be is in Jacksonville at the Gator Bowl. That means they're not in the playoff. That means they're not there. And if Miami comes, I told them I'm going to host Miami everywhere. I'm going to be on that bus. We're going to go to Dave and Buster's. We're going to go to Adventure Landing. We're going to get on the Navy ship. I'm going to take them everywhere with a big ass smile on my face because this is the best Miami team that they've had since 2001, and the best.
And they had to cancel the hotel rooms, right? They had to cancel them tickets to Charlotte.
Yeah, man. Oh boy, they love coming up and pulling them old tweets, boy. Them old tweets we had a whole segment today on pulling tweets of guys who said that this was the best team and all that jazz. And so, like, I mean, funny thing is, I'm still probably going to Charlotte to cover it. I said I'm going.
I'm still gonna probably go to Charlotte too because Clemson didn't make it. So you guys know I got the Clemson.
I mean, I didn't lie.
I didn't cancel my book. My room is still good. So I might be in Charlotte hanging next week as well too, motherfucker.
Yeah, but here's what I do know is that it will not be any hurricanes. It's Charlotte.
It will not. 100%.